Logbooks have been part of Landmarks since 1965, and it's a place for landmarkers to record their own experiences and leave recommendations for the people who come after them. And they are the most wonderful sort of treasure troves of holiday memories over many decades by now. The old parsonage, we're on to the 6th volume, almost the 7th already, and at the very beginning, they were little more than exercise books, really. This one is Iffley Parsonage, 1980 to 1984. Pretty soon, those little books were too small, and so we moved on to these bigger green-bound volumes, as we see today. The paper inside is a lovely heavy cartridge watercolour type paper that's lovely both to write on, draw on, and to flick the pages as well. And we know that for many landmarkers, almost the first thing they do when they arrive at a building is to reach for the logbook, whether to look back for their own entry years ago or whether to see what the most up-to-date recommendations are. But now we're about to move into a new era with the logbooks. The provision of them has moved to our new warehouse in Honeybourne.
I was approached by the Landmark Trust about 18 months ago to produce a design for a bookplate to go in the various logbooks that are used in the landmarks across the country. So it was a careful process of just selecting the details from various buildings that I kind of love myself, but also were the most iconic, and then somehow taking them and putting them together in a cohesive kind of assemblage of bits and pieces, really, to form the frame of the main bookplate. Eventually we came to a final design, and which was produced in pen and ink. And then it was the time to transfer that into a plate that was then sent to the printmakers, and it was set into the chase, which is quite a laborious process, and then it was ready for printing. And when it comes to the printing of the plate itself, that is really a complex sort of series of judgments that you're making based on weather, whether it's humid, whether it's dry, because that will affect the paper, whether the ink is behaving itself, whether it's saturating into the paper too much, whether you're printing too slowly or too fast. So you're constantly reading the process of the printer and the printmaking, which is it's a real skill.
Well, this one is 1965, I think, but it's a Heidelberg Platinum. It's a classic jobbing press. It's the sort of thing that corner shop printers in the 60s, 50s, 40s even would have aspired to owning. It's a remarkably versatile machine for printing by letterpress.
Yeah, so it's very exciting to see the plate, and Ed has designed this beautiful, quirky design for us that we hope will be almost like a puzzle for landmarkers to untease and work out which elements have come from where. And yeah, it's really exciting to see it now as a plate all ready for printing. Richard tells us that the plate is made of magnesium. Several test prints are run to make sure that the quality of the print is a perfect reproduction of the original.
What you try to do is start with too little of everything and build up to the right amount.
Yeah.
It's much easier to add ink than it is to remove it. So this is probably going to need a drop more ink, which is fine.
The amount of ink added to the press needs to be just right. The pressure has to be applied evenly across the whole plate, and fainter areas can be adjusted with tiny scraps of paper added to the backing pad. Once correctly set up, the press can run and run indefinitely, with a bit of encouragement and fine-tuning as it goes.
So this came a couple of days ago, and I have saved it to open it with you. It's arrived from Pear Tree Bindery, who have been doing our binding of the logbooks for about 30 years, believe it or not. Okay, so this is going to be the Dunshay book, logbook, which is the next landmark that we'll be opening in a couple of months. And I feel I should let
I feel I should let you be the one who opens it.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
And this will now go to Dunshay as our next landmark. And from now on, these lovely images will be bound into every new landmark logbook